Oh, hi. I didn't hear you come in. I'm Tamara Robertson.
When I started this journey, I was just really hoping to make the girls in science proud.
Yep, that's Tamara Robertson. But I'm not just a mythbuster, I'm also a chemical and biomolecular engineer. And this is my shop, where I talk superheroes, technology, and a whole lot of science. Today, we're gonna learn about the science of energy manipulation. But first, I need to get ready. Whew, that's better. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, the science of energy manipulation. But what is energy manipulation? And why am I dressed like Robin? Stay tuned to find out in this episode of Superhero Science. In the world of comics, energy manipulation is the ability of a user to create, shape, and manipulate energy. Whether that means changing the type of energy, gaining the capacity to harness that energy, or simply being able to increase or decrease the amount of it within a system. Now, some examples of energy manipulation in the comics world are things like energy detection, energy disruption, flight, power suppression, solid energy constructs, aka force fields. Oh, and of course, the always popular energy blasts. But why is the ability to manipulate energy such a big deal? Well, in the real world, we abide by the law of conservation of energy, which states that the total energy of a system can increase or decrease only by transferring it in or out of the system. It's similar to how we eat calories from healthy things like cookies, I mean broccoli, and our body transfers that caloric energy into stored energy and fat cells. Then eventually it moves into kinetic energy for our muscles for movement. Now, you are moving after you eat your cookies, right? Anyways, so we can't exert more energy than our body has capacity for because it's a basic N equals out equation. So of course, energy manipulation seems like an out of this world superpower. But what if I told you there's a superhero that uses an everyday real world form of energy manipulation? That's right. Thanks to the world of physics, Carrie Kelley, aka Robin, is able to harness various types of kinetic and potential energy, such as gravitational and elastic energy, as her superpowers to back up Batman any day of the week. Now, potential energy is stored energy that depends upon the relative position or various parts of a system. A bicycle on top of a hill, a book held over your head, and a stretched spring all have potential energy. So if potential energy is the stored energy, kinetic energy is what it is converted to when it is in motion, if the ball falls, for instance. In this example, the blue ball has potential energy due to its height. The red ball has kinetic energy due to its velocity as it's falling.
Flashback.
Carrie Kelley isn't the only super who harnesses the benefits of energy manipulation when it comes to their superpowers. In fact, perhaps the best known superhero currently with this power is the Scarlet Witch, or Wanda Maximoff. She was the founding member of the Brotherhood of Mutants, first appearing in comics in 1964 in Uncanny X-Men #4. Now, Wanda's psionic energy manipulation abilities enable her to project energy blasts, streams, waves, and bolts, as well as to form highly durable barriers or force fields. With a laundry list of other abilities in addition to that, it leaves people wondering, maybe she's born with it? Maybe it's chaos magic. Getting back to Robin though. As a superhero armed with only a slingshot and parkour skills, you could say that Robin, aka Carrie Kelley, is a leading expert in real-world energy manipulation. In fact, harnessing energy is her superpower, granting her the ability to do things like use potential energy through her street acrobatics, commonly referred to as parkour, which enables her to use her momentum and speed to get through urban environments effectively and efficiently to not only escape attacks, but also to come to Batman's aid. Such as when we see her here, leaping onto fire escapes, shimmying down vents, and scaling buildings, and Batman the Dark Knight Returns. Now, obviously, extensive training and skill building is very important in preventing injuries in parkour. But the top parkour experts also know that an ability to understand physics and how to manipulate energy is also very important. This is because, while it may appear Carrie is only using kinetic energy for this superpower, she's also having to abide by one of Sir Isaac Newton's laws of motion. Not the fig guy, no. This guy. The guy whose laws of motion gives us the basic foundation for physics, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but just in case, here's a quick flashback. The three governing laws of motion state: 1. An object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion, along a straight line, unless moved by an outside force. Wow, okay, that was a lot. To put it simply, this ball is not moving, so it's at rest until I drop it and the force of gravity begins to pull it to the ground. It will drop straight to the ground unless I kick it, in which case my foot is an outside force. Pretty simple, right? For the second law, an object will accelerate if force is applied to it. For a fixed force, bigger objects will have a smaller acceleration, i.e., they'll be slower. Same height, same gravity, who knows about the mass? Golf ball hit first that time. With gravity again, being the same force pulling down, air resistance will make it so a larger object is slower. I have a really cool clip from Mythbusters Jr. where we actually took a hammer and a feather and we dropped them at the same time in a vacuum, i.e. space. So, check it out. Pretty cool, right? Now, for the third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That one seems pretty easy. If I hit this ball, it's going to go in the opposite direction, right? Whoop. Pretty simple. And to think he discovered all of that watching an apple fall out of a tree. I guess you could say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but the scientists will study you. The importance of these laws comes into play in parkour movements, especially with the landings. As you can see here in this clip from Batman the Dark Knight Returns, Carrie uses a tried and true and very practiced technique called a parkour roll to help dissipate the energy that she has coming into her leap, thus keeping her uninjured and allowing her to maintain her momentum. Okay. Enough about parkour though. Let's get to the energy manipulation superpower I'm going to teach you how to harness through today's DIY build. I'm talking about the power to convert potential energy into kinetic energy and use it to propel a projectile through the air. Yeah, I'm talking about slingshots. Anyways, so Carrie Kelley uses a slingshot not to harm, but rather to distract villains and give Batman some more time to reach the fun tools in his utility belt. For instance, here in Book 3, Hunt the Dark Knight, where we see her use it to strike a villain in the forehead to distract him a little bit. Now, the use of a slingshot enables Carrie to harness a different form of potential energy, known as elastic potential energy. Now there's a lot of objects that have been specifically designed to store elastic potential energy. For instance, coil springs that are used in wind-up clocks or jewelry boxes, an archer's stretched bow, both the bow and the string, a bent diving board right before you leap off, right? The twisted rubber band that power toy airplanes, those are always my favorite. Oh no, my actual favorite, bouncy balls. So bouncy balls show elastic potential right before they spring back from the surface that you've hit them on. Now, in the case of a slingshot, the elastic object is in the form of the rubberized bands of the slingshot. And the force applied is the stretching, or what is known as the drawback of the bands. Now, there is a lot of science that goes into understanding elastomers. So lucky for you, I already covered it in an earlier superhero science video with the help of Elastigirl. So I recommend you head to my YouTube and check that video out later, because there's a really fun DIY in it that you're gonna wanna do. But in order to ensure you get to build an energy manipulation device today, I will continue on our journey. So slingshots are an especially cool tool for energy manipulation because you get to utilize kinetic energy and two different forms of potential energy, both elastic potential energy and gravitational potential energy. So to understand the energy manipulation which occurs with a slingshot, it's important to first understand the steps that go into taking a shot with a slingshot and a paper ball. So first, you use the potential or stored energy of your arm muscles, which is transferred to kinetic energy for movement, and then you put your thing in and you draw back the rubber bands with your projectile in the pouch. Now this imparts elastic energy that is stored in the bands as you pull them. When you release the bands, they start to contract, and the stored energy is redistributed as kinetic energy and utilized by the acceleration of the projectile, as you saw, the pouch, and the bands themselves as well. It is worth noting that not all the energy goes into this delivery though. Some of it is lost as heat during that initial stretching of the elastomer. It's this elastic potential to kinetic energy transfer that helps propel that projectile beyond the slingshot and towards your target. But there's an additional force at play, because I said there were two, right? And that is gravitational potential energy of the projectile, that once it was released, became converted to kinetic energy as gravity began to pull it toward the center of the earth. So instead of going straight, it went at an arc. Now, with gravity walking in to affect a slingshot projectile's path of flight, it can be easy to understand why most slingshot users spend a lot of time on a practice range. Practice enables you to account for things like that drop and how it is based on different projectile materials, sizes, and distances when you use your slingshot. While the concept of potential energy goes all the way back to ancient Greece and the philosopher Aristotle, slingshots themselves weren't able to be invented until there was a strong enough elastic material around to be utilized for the sling. So it was after the invention of vulcanized rubber by Charles Goodyear, yep, the tire guy, in 1839 that spurred their creativity. While commonly associated with juvenile delinquency, slingshots are actually most commonly utilized in hunting and military applications. They're also seen in National Slingshot Association competitions, other global competitions, and, yep, you guessed it, even the Guinness Book of World Records. While there's many records around aim, distance, and hitting specific types of targets with slingshots, perhaps my favorite Guinness Book of World Record is the world's largest slingshot. Awarded to the awesome team at Stephen & Co. They're on YouTube, check them out. After they built a 4.56 meter, almost 15 feet tall, Slingshot out of plywood in Norway in 2019. Not only did it look like a slingshot, but per the rule book, it worked like one too. It launched an exercise ball a little over 41 feet, or the equivalent of 2/3 a length of a bowling alley, or the height of a brachiosaurus. I mean, that's pretty dynamite, right? Okay, it's time to wield your very own energy manipulation powers. Are you ready? Yes! Now, there are a ton of variations of DIY builds for slingshots online, and they're available in most shops. Or there's the tried and true tree branch and rubber band combo. But here in LA, we mainly have succulents, and I don't think a cacti is gonna work very well. So for my build, I will be teaching you how to upcycle a resource you already have in your very own home to manipulate energy. I'm talking about all that junk mail. So if you'd like to follow along with me at home, these are the things that you're going to need, because I'm going to be creating a simple paper variation of a slingshot. So you should have these items. You're going to need 5 sheets of paper, bonus if they're upcycled, 2 rubber bands. You can try different thicknesses because each one will affect your actual draw strength and your flight path. Tape, you can use any type, but again, remember, the lighter the better, because the energy used to move the tape takes away from the energy used to move your projectile. Scissors, a measuring device, and of course, a tried and true writing device. So I have a pen, you can use a marker, you can use whatever you would like. So first, you're going to want to stack the 5 sheets of paper on top of each other, and then you're gonna want to measure out about a 1/2 inch from the top of your paper. It doesn't have to be exact. This is really just to help you when you're rolling the paper. So once you have that down, you're going to actually start rolling or folding your paper. So you're gonna go ahead and keep rolling until you're about halfway down your paper. So like this. Now, you're gonna cut a 1/2 inch slot into each side. And when I say side, I mean internal, this side. That's gonna be for your actual rubber bands. If you need help cutting, please ask an adult. Now, once you have those cut, you're gonna actually take your 2 rubber bands and you're gonna stretch them around the paper so that they go into the slots. So you see they're actually in the slots now. So I got my rubber band. When you have this done, you're gonna wanna continue rolling because you're just strengthening what will become your handle. So you roll it once, and then you're going to roll it another time to keep your handle in, rubber band in, and then you're going to actually cut off the excess. Now this excess is going to be used later, so go ahead and keep that around, but cut it off, put it to the side. Now you have your rubber band on the outside, it needs to be on the outside, and you're gonna tape the center of the paper. Do not tape your rubber band. Once you've taped that, you also wanna just tape the paper split so that it stays together. Again, your rubber band should be freestanding at this point. It should not be stuck in your paper. Okay, now your paper roll is actually going to create the standard Y handle shape. So what you want to do is you want to fold it in half like this, and then you're going to fold it again to make your Ys like this. You're going to have to stretch it a little bit so that your rubber band is done. So it should look like this, like a Y. Again, your rubber band should be free hanging and you should have a Y fold. Now, remember that scrap paper that we had earlier? So you open it and look, there it is. Now, you're gonna cut it into 5 segments. Just start with 1 if you want, and then you're gonna roll it along the center like you did the big paper, and you're gonna fold it in half. Now this becomes your ammo because you can fold it around your rubber band and shoot it. Again, make sure you are only aiming at things that are not human, okay? So again, you just roll it, you fold it, and you shoot it. So set up something like small cups, or I've got playing cards, or you can do little targets and you can work on your skills. You can even challenge your friends to a fun competition because these are super easy to make and everyone has these materials. Now, the world record for the most card faces hit in a minute is 47. That seems like it took an amazing amount of speed and accuracy to be able to do, right? So how many can you get up to? Compete with your friends. But remember, practice makes permanent and skills are built one shot at a time. Always be safe, never aim at another human being, always have something that you are shooting towards that will not be harmed if it is hit. Clear your range area, do not have pets, parents, or friends around that could get hurt, okay? But again, you take that, you roll it, you fold it, and you let it go. Have fun. Well, that's it for this episode of Superhero Science. I hope that you enjoyed learning all about Carrie Kelley's ability to manipulate energy in a real world way, and that you were able to observe some cool physics with your Slingshot DIY. Until next time, no, Dexter, that superpower is next week. Don't worry, he'll get it right next time. But until then, remember, superpowers are only one science lesson away.